How a man shot himself in the head and then did it again. December 10th, 2004. A moving company arrives at a modest house in Carmichael, California. On the door, they find a handwritten note. It says, "Please do not enter. Call 911 and ask for an ambulance." Inside, police find a body of 49-year-old Gary Webb. The coroner's report was swift and definitive: suicide. But for thousands of people watching the case, the official ruling was an insult to intelligence. Why? Because Gary Webb died from 2 gunshot wounds to the head. How does a man shoot himself in the head and then do it again? The authorities had an explanation. But Gary Webb wasn't just any depressed man. He was a journalist who had exposed one of the darkest secrets of the American government, and many believe his death wasn't a suicide. It was a final act of silencing a whistleblower. To understand his death, we have to go back 8 years to 1996. Gary Webb was an investigative reporter for the San Jose Mercury News. He stumbled onto a lead that seemed too wild to be true. He spent a year digging, following a trail of money and cocaine from the jungles of Nicaragua straight to the streets of south-central Los Angeles. In August 96, he published his 3-part series, Dark Alliance. The premise was explosive. Webb alleged that during the 1980s, CIA-backed Contra rebels in Nicaragua were trafficking massive amounts of cocaine into the U.S. to fund their war against communism. Even worse, Webb suggested the CIA knew about it and looked the other way. The very government claiming to fight the war on drugs was effectively protecting suppliers who ignited the crack epidemic in black communities. The story was an earthquake. The nascent internet lit up. Protests erupted in Los Angeles. Gary Webb had spoken truth to ultimate power. When you attack the intelligence community, the backlash is swift. But the conspiracy against Gary Webb didn't just come from the CIA. It came from his own peers. In an unprecedented move, the titans of media, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, the New York Times, didn't try to advance Webb's story. They launched a coordinated attack to destroy it. They nitpicked his sourcing. They claimed he overstated the CIA's direct involvement. They devoted more ink to discrediting Webb than they ever did to investigating drug running by CIA assets. Why? Some say professional jealousy. Others say these major papers acted as gatekeepers, protecting the establishment they relied on for access. The pressure worked. His own newspaper, the Mercury News, buckled and retracted support for the story. Gary Webb was transferred to a dead-end bureau, marginalized, and eventually forced out of journalism entirely. He had told the truth, and it cost him his career. By 2004, Webb was divorced, struggling financially, and unable to get a job at a major newspaper. His friends admit he was deeply depressed. When he was found dead, the Sacramento County coroner ruled it suicide. They explained the 2 shots theory. The first shot, entering near his ear, passed through his cheek and wasn't immediately fatal. The second shot did the job. It is physically possible, but highly improbable. Conspiracy theorists point to the timing. Just years prior, a CIA internal investigation finally admitted that, yes, they did work with assets who were known drug traffickers. Webb was largely vindicated years too late. Did someone decide he was still a loose end? Was the humiliation not enough? His ex-wife, Sue Bell, said Gary had told her weeks before his death that he was being followed. He said, "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." Today, the Dark Alliance is widely accepted as a flawed but essential piece of journalism that exposed a horrifying reality of U.S. foreign policy. Whether Gary Webb died by his own hand, broken by the machine that crushed him, or whether he was murdered to send a final message, the result is the same. The man who exposed the darkest alliance in modern American history was silenced. And the question remains, in a world of deep state secrets, what is the real price of the truth?